Again, he's safe, so the divers would have gone down straight with him, make sure he's okay. If they couldn't find him, then they've got a full-kitted scuba diver that would go down even deeper if he was panicking or in trouble or been knocked out.
Good second round dive there from Matt, and you saw his reaction into the hundreds, so that combined total for the first 2 rounds will be good.
Oh, that is so good. That's a half twist into a reverse 1.5. Now he Barani's out. You see the confident jump and the turn, the pike. It's all done in stages there. Now, the first part of the dive is like a normal Olympic dive. The second is more of a gymnastic action, coming out, half twist into Barani. And a strong, tight body finish, good vertical entry, just a hair slightly piked on entry. But he wouldn't have felt that impact. That was a soft landing.
I saw a wonderful description of high diving and cliff diving the other day. 3 seconds of exhilaration, followed by a massive explosion. And going into the water at 85 kilometres per hour, that is pretty much what happens. Now, then, this man you would have seen in action for Great Britain, former Olympian Blake Aldridge, part of the regular diving team, but has now moved his attention to dive exhibitions and to cliff diving, and looking incredibly relaxed, Chris.
Oh, he is. 3-time European champion. Blake loves it up here. He says it's the adrenaline rush. It's crazy. I love it. And we all know him as, the partner of Tom Daley, but they spectacularly fell out in 2008. But Blake actually has a chance of winning this first FINA World Championships. Got a hard degree of difficulty. This is an easy one. He likes doing arm stands, but we're going to see this as a forward double 1.5 twist. So he was just telling the scuba divers just to get into position.
And they just like to get it all lined up down there and make sure everything is right. And preparation is the key here. There's no real pressure on the diver to get on with it, so they can just make sure everything is perfect.
Yeah, we saw him just give the signal there to the scuba people that they're in position, they're not in his way.
Well, very confident dive, but if you can believe this, even off 27 metres, that just felt a touch low there, Chris, as he came out.
Yeah, he was slightly stuck on the jump into the twist. We'll see it in just a moment. Like I said, Blake has... he trains down at Crystal Palace to see all of the lead-ups on the 10 metres. So he does half the dive there, and then he does open water training where he can get the 27 metre height falling practice as well. So he's safe. That's the most important thing. Anytime you're any time off angle, it really hits your body, your back or your chest.
Yep, sub 100, 90.2. So it's steady from Blake, but not really where he wants to be over these first 2 rounds. But once we get into the final stages, that's when we're going to see the 6.0 dives, the really big ones.
There's the 1.5 one twist, and then he Barani's out. Finishing high. Well, he's finishing at about 15 metres. So the first 12 metres before he Barani's around, could have finished a little higher, just a bit too slow, being cautious there, making sure he doesn't have too much rotation.
It really is phenomenal. This is where they're holding the open water swimming as well at these World Championships, and it is a sensational venue. The only problem is they're not allowing boats in. Normally you'd see a lot of boats at these events. So you'd get a ring of boats around the divers, plus all the spectators on the cliffs around the venue. Yeah,
it was incredible. The first of the World Series in France earlier this year, they had 70,000 people watching. I went out to the finals of the World Championships, or the Grand Prix, out in the Black Sea, and there was something like 45,000 people watching. It draws huge crowds.
Chris Kolonis, 26-year-old Polish diver, relatively new to the high diving world, but parents both dive coaches, so I guess it was only going to be one outcome for this young man. Same dive as we just saw from Blake Aldridge. A little bit more smooth, but a very similar finish to Blake as he comes down to the water, immediately back up to signal to the divers that he's okay.
Yeah, just a little fraction short of vertical. I did like the takeoff, though. Very quick into the twist. When he came around for the 1.5, you can see he's spotting the water from a higher, maybe even 8 metres off the board. which would be something like 19 metres, just marks him down for that entry. He came into the high diving as a wild card this year, finished 9th in Italy just 3 weeks ago before this, and then was picked for the World Championships. Into the twist, finishing quite high. It's here the critical point, seeing water, half somersault, half twist out, and then just dropping a little short of vertical.
There's a lot of splash being thrown up on that entry. Another twister from 28-year-old American Steve LeBeau.
Yeah, Steve was ranked 3rd last year in the world in cliff diving. It's a real challenger. Finished 2nd in Italy 3 weeks ago. First double with double twist.
Oh, that looked beautiful. That looked really good, and a very nice entry as well from Steve, and finished 3rd in the first round. He's certainly going along well here.
There you can see, just as he popped up, he knew it was a good dive. He's signalling to each of the safety divers. And I've been told that the safety divers are picked from, they're elite pair from the Spanish Army, and used to, you know, going down wrecks and whatnot, and they're here for the World Championships. Make sure the divers are really, really safe. And then you can see further out is the football scuba guy. If they collapse underwater, it's all murky and dark down there, they go find the divers and drag them up.
Yeah, this is serious stuff. It really is. You can see he's got the gum shield in to protect those pearly whites.
Oh, it's a beautiful takeoff. The way he jumps, turns back into the board, looks at the water, briny out, hands definite, good strong entry there, but finishes very high. Good. He had about 17, 16 metres to line up that entry, and you're accelerating then that final bit. It's a real feeling of the whole stomach comes up into your mouth.
Not literally, but that's what it feels like. Michael Navratil then. Navratil from Prague. Had a long run as a show diver in China, has worked on cruise liners as well. Likes to train with Silenko. We'll see in action a little bit later on when he can. And that too, very, very nice. And you heard a very good sound as he made that entry. Cut right through the water. And you see how long they hold that OK sign up for. That is basically saying to the divers, yeah, I'm not just going through the routine, I really am OK. The divers will check, and then it's into the side. You can see how far they have to swim before they get out, so it's no wonder that occasionally assistance is called for. And 104.6, that's good scoring, already over the 200s. And Navratil proving that he is certainly a contender for this first ever high diving world gold.
Yeah, starts with the 2.5 somersaults, keeps it in control, not too fast, out, then half twist, and then good entry. The judges particularly like the flight through the air. He's got the rotation right. Now look how high he finishes, then the turn, and then the little pike, and then the straight out on the end.
Don't look down. The daredevils of high diving are making their entry into the FINA World Championships for the very first time. It's spectacular and it's scary. The FINA High Diving World Championships, this afternoon at 3, live on British Eurosport.
You know, I love pottering about. There's always so much to do, but with a bit of planning, it can be well worth the effort. Well, it's like that in life. Spending a bit of time now to prepare for the future can give you real peace of mind, and it needn't take long. The 50-plus plan from LV will give your loved ones a cash lump sum for when you're no longer around, to help towards your funeral or any unpaid bills. It's for anyone aged between 50 and 80 living in the UK. And you get full cover after just 1 year. It costs from £5 a month. You don't have to answer any health questions, so you're guaranteed to be accepted. You get a free thank you gift after your plan has started. LV have been providing peace of mind for millions of people for over 160 years. For your free information pack, call 0800 91 77791 or visit lv.com. And now you could get more cover for your money.
For pure class, you can't beat the Wednesday selection. Whether it's on the fairways with the major tours in golf, with the horses and riders in the best of equestrian sport, or battling the oceans with the most gifted names in sailing. It's all here on British Eurosport's Wednesday selection. Every Wednesday night, pure class.
Welcome back to Barcelona and Port Vale. Halfway through this second round for the men in the two prelim phases of diving before we head into the final rounds when the numbers really go up. We'll have the final tomorrow here on Eurosport. Artem Silchenko of Russia, 29 years of age, and one of the divers that we fully expect to be on the podium, gradually increasing his degree of difficulty as time goes on. But not a great opener for him, finishing down in 6th position. So his second round dive to come. And I'm going to ask Chris Snowd alongside me about one of the technicalities that is very different to the pool. Very nice, and not as easy as it looked. How on earth do you take a spot to look for your out on a dive like that?
Yeah, actually, this is one of the few dives that's called a blind dive, where you can't see the entry, you have to guess it. And Artem actually is the best in the world at this blind dive. He got 4 10s in Copenhagen. And look at that, he's got 2, 3, he's got 4 10s again. Only he can do this dive that perfectly. It is so difficult. You fly off the ball. Well, we'll see it on the slow motion. But to tell you how difficult it is, normally every other dive that you will do off the platform, it's all about spotting the water. And he can't see the water as soon as he's done the first part of the dive. Here's the layout position, nice and straight, passes the platform, and that is a beautiful position. There's nothing wrong with it. The arms are out to side, that's a T position. He's looking at the water, and he's then trying to judge at this point how quickly do I pike in, and he hit it just at the right time, flying around, spot the water, pike, and at this point he can't see the water, it's a guess, and then places his hands down. Beautiful dive, definitely. I can't see anything wrong with it.
Awesome scoring from Silchenko. That will improve the situation. He's a man that has scored 518.3 points, which is a World Series world record. So we know the sort of scoring that he can bring to the party. So good second round then for Silchenko. Mohamed Djekani of France, the only French diver involved in this high dive competition. And incidentally, while we're talking about nations, Chris, no Chinese divers yet.
Yes, I think that they're waiting to see how this first World Championship goes. And as we know, in the Olympic-style diving, they are the best. They've got something like 9 of the 10 Olympic World Championship medals. So they will be in this event eventually, and that is going to be frightening.
Yes, absolutely. We're waiting for that arrival, but for now it's about the stars of the moment. Djekani, as you can see, with quite heavy protective strapping to the ankles. 37 years of age. There's only so long your body can take this sort of punishment. All right, we're going to see the same dive back to back, and he went in just a little crimp there. Paredes, who follows up, will want to go in a little straighter, and it does catch you if you are just that little bit out of position on the water, Chris. It hurts.
Well, it hurts, and it can cause a lot of damage. Particularly, we've had pelvic separations. You've got to really train for this. The impact, 85 kilometers an hour. It's not, the impact actually feels, and it's scientifically been proven, it's 9 times as hard as diving off the 10 meter. And you have to have very strong abductors, very strong quads, because of the impact of the legs. Here's the start. Yeah, it's just a bit too slow. There's the 2.5 first, spot, out, half twist, and just finishing way too low. Also, the pike position could be closed. It's a little bit more of an open position than we've seen. Went under 100 points on the first dive. Currently ranked 16th in the World Series. Hasn't had any wins. Best place position has been 13.
So Djekani gets his second dive away. we're going to see the same dive now from the 23-year-old Mexican, one of the new stars on this World Series tour, Jonathan Paredes. And the Mexican really is the new boy on the block. All these divers constantly working with their coaches, looking at how they increase the degree of difficulty, but there is only so far you can go. And Chris, the out to the dive so vitally important. If you do come out that touch early, there's very little you can do to actually stop the body continuing and going off axis and then going in on your back, and that's bad news.
It would be terribly bad news, and you might not get around to do another round. As we get into the difficult dives, when we see in the finals, we'll see some 5.6s and even 6.1s. When you're doing multiple dives, when you're doing quads or even quints, you'll be finishing low to the water, and it's a split-second reaction. You'll be spotting it as you go around, first somersault, second, third, fourth somersault, and you really only have about a quarter of a second to react to your entry. And at the moment we're seeing very graceful dives, slow movements, and there's very little chance of too much going wrong. But Paredes here is the new kid on the block, as you said, got a bronze in Portugal in the high diving series, and this is particularly good dive if his fronts triple half twist.
Same dive as the Frenchman. Let's see if he can improve on it. Beautiful entry. There you go. Barely a puff of water thrown up.
Well, he finished that dive something like 16, 17 metres up in the air, and you could just see him float around, and that was the difference, and there's going to be a big score here. Again, he's safe, swimming back. Early in the year, when the divers are in open water, they might wear...
Good score, Chris. Sorry, 110.7 for 2:13.30, and the man that was in joint third will push on with that score. Yeah, sorry, back to what you were saying.
Yeah, it's nice summertime and it's warm, but we do have the divers dive in wetsuits in the cold water. Yeah, very good score. Anything over 100 is good at this point. That'll keep the pressure on. Here we see the throw, moving nice and fast, perfect out, and he finishes so high. The free fall at the end is the important bit. They're finishing high, plenty of time to line up, and you can see how vertical he goes in here. That's it, good.
Dives finishing with what is called the Barani in terms of the gymnastic movement. That's when those legs come around and straighten out underneath the diver. Now then, here's a big name from the world of diving and high diving, Kent Lamond, a man that you know well from the Splash series in the USA that you were involved with, Chris.
Yeah, well, Kent did all of the opening shows and some of the crazy stuff as well, and he's doing well. Oh, yeah, he had a hesitation. No, but he had a hesitation at the end. We saw the arm move around. I wonder if they'll cut him down for that.
Well, they've already hit a couple of those hesitations on the out very hard. We've seen down as low as 4, 5.5. So Kent will be hoping that he gets a little bit of support from his name.
Yeah, Kent is a USA diver, of course, and done quite well. He only did one of the series leading into this as a practice. But
Okay.
the 86 is because of the arms moving around. You see the start is fine. There's the half into the 1.5, and then as he comes around, at this point it's going fine. Now, as he looks at the water, he comes around, then he manoeuvres his arm to get his feet around further. So it's not a smooth Barani. Right here, we're just missing the arm moving around. But as he comes around, he's just not in position. The arms have to pull back before lining up.
Good spot, Chris. A couple of legends doing the judging here as well. Greg Louganis, a man that has worked, Ken Grove, with a couple of the divers on developing their degree of difficulty. And a great welcome out to the platform for the 3-time World Series champion. Gary Hunt has dominated the sport over the last 3 seasons, taking over from Duque while he was injured. But Hunt has beaten him in his own right as well before the injury. So the 27-year-old Brit from Southampton, down on the south coast, with his second round dive.
Yes,
very good. Lot of great stuff about that, and a lot of very good work from Hunt over the last few seasons, Chris, and really coming to this event as the favourite, but it's not going to be easy for him.
Well, I think he has more of a chance because the other favourite was David Qatari, USA, but 3 days ago he twisted his ankle, and so we're not seeing him in here.
Good score, 106.6, takes him to 2:13, so just behind Shevchenko. Paradis also, but that is good work from Hunt.
He's got some big dives coming up in the finals. There's the 2.5 floating out, half twist. Again, very good drop. Probably could have finished another 2 or 3 meters higher for the free fall at the end. There's a Barani. Then digs deep because he just felt a little slow. Again, spots, out, half twist, and then good position going in. So I'll keep the pressure on. Again, over 100 points. Went 106 on his inward double with half twist in the previous round. And then you can see his eyes looking at the water all the time. Take your eyes off the water and you're going to crash. Good fly into the Barani. Lovely position there. Drop in. You can see he's very safe.
Good work then from Gary. And clearly one of the men to beat. Now then, it should have been David Qatari diving, but as you heard from Chris, ankle injury means that he can't dive, so the legend of the sport is next to the platform. Orlando Duque, a lot of divers attribute him as being the man that brought them into the sport. Based in Hawaii, has had a lot to do with the University of Hawaii divers, and returning at 36 years of age from an ankle injury sustained while skydiving, would you believe it? And it's taken him a little while to get back, and of course he's come back, and as he's gone on record and said, Chris, he's found the sport has moved on a little bit.
It has moved on, but he's moved on with it. Talking about the extreme sports, a lot of these divers have extreme in them, and they do other sports as well, whether it's skydiving, whether it's crazy tricks on skis. You know, we have a season...
stuntmen as well.
And stuntmen, yeah. Kent Lamont is a stuntman. So it's not just the high diving, they sort of get drawn like a magnet to these other sports too.
Joint first position after the first round with Gary Hunt. Maybe it's the ponytail that just adds to the drama of the dive, but there was pure theatre there from Orlando, and a very good dive from him, and all the big names going well.
Yeah, he's got his own particular style. I mean, he's the only person that has scored 7 10s on a dive. And that was 10 years ago.
Not quite the 10s, but 110.7 for 2:17.10. And that means Duque has put himself right there in position at the top of the leaderboard.
So he's looking at the water, springy jump, there's the throw forward, that starts the rotation, comes out on a double, out, spot, half turn, and then hands to your body and straighten out. So he's in control, good pike position, good flight through the air, well spotted on the end.
Seen a lot of these guys in action on Eurosport over the last few years on that Red Bull World Series, so Duque will be a very familiar name to all of you, and enjoying the crowd. And look at that, there is a decent crowd here, I can tell you, but not quite as close to the divers as they sometimes get on the World Series events.
You can see that the strapping has just been blown apart. We saw it as he's climbing out. Strapping on that ankle just completely disintegrated from the impact.
So one more diver to go. Anatoly Shabotenko of Ukraine, 24 years of age is Shabotenko. Has a very solid World Series record, the man from Kiev. We're just looking to make that breakthrough. And Chris, I wonder if we will get a new name, claim that first gold medal. That'll just open things up a bit again.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell. We haven't got the results from previous FINA World Championships to look at, only the Grand Prix. And Anatoly is relatively new. He's done well in the last 4 high dive, cliff diving competitions, and he's currently ranked 10th in the world. So he could have an outside chance if he's consistent. He's getting himself psyched up, which of course you need to do. Good weather for platform diving, high diving.
Fantastic scenes here, and this is what these guys live for. I do like to see the fact the chamois still goes over the edge before the dive. Some things don't change.
It's more of a missile thrown in from that height. You don't want to be on the pool deck when, well, on the side of the marina when it lands.
And it goes, and our last man of this second round, and that will conclude the diving for the men today. Then it'll be through to the final 3 rounds, diving for that gold medal. We'll have all of that finals coverage on Eurosport tomorrow. So, Shabutenko to conclude today's action for the men.
Same dive as Orlando.
And you see much more splash because he went in at an awkward angle.
Yeah, he's safe though. The hand goes up. Yeah, won't score particularly well because just a bit of a dish shape. Just seeing the start soon, we can tell some of the mistakes. But Orlando did a great one, and he scores a load.
Very different. 73.8 for 159.30, and already Shabutenko has a lot of work to do just to make up the difference. The dive order was decided at the pool. They all dived in off the 10-metre board, proper dive, and they picked up their number off the bottom of the pool floor, and that's what decided the order today. So a nice little theatrical touch for the high divers.
Yeah, they all did different dives, some complicated ones, some funny ones, some dressed up as well, so it's something different. There's a good photo call.
They are a different breed, aren't they?
They are. Well, I think Anatoly just needs a bit more experience, needs to finish higher. He comes around the corner on the Barani, he wasn't angled right, and they've marked him down for that.
So that brings our highlights coverage to a close for the men. That was their first 2 rounds yesterday. Still 3 rounds of diving to come tomorrow before we know our first ever FINA world champion in high diving. But so far, so good. It really does look the business. And look how far down 10 metres looks in comparison to where they are diving from. That's how things stand then in the competition so far after 2 rounds with 3 to go. And Duque, the World Series champion with so many titles to his name, at the moment on course for what would be a really wonderful gold medal. Gary Hunt, the favourite ahead of this competition, down in 4th position, and Silchenko of Russia, and Paladis of Mexico, trying to keep pace with the legend that is Orlando Duque. So a fantastic start to the competition here in Barcelona. And remember, as we move into rounds 3, 4 and 5, those degree of difficulties will gradually get higher and higher, and we will finish in round 5 on some very complex dives that will go into the 6s and even 6.1. So we really do have something to look forward to ahead of that medal being decided. But at the moment, Chris, so far so good for Duque.
Yeah, I think he's sitting pretty. He's got his experience behind him, and he's got 9 world championships. Unofficial if you take it from the FINA point of view, but from the world of cliff diving, he has almost been God, and everybody's been following his style. So he's there in a great position. You never know, 3 more rounds to go and some big dives to come.
Yeah, it's got to the point where the world of diving just could not ignore high diving anymore. It has arrived on the world stage, and it's looking very good indeed. Well, once again, conditions just beautiful for the high diving, and coming straight up.